The other day I was talking to one of my guild members, and she is switching over to a DPS role come Shadowlands. And she had made a remark in her Discord channel that we have set up, and I've talked about private conversations with raiders before, but she made a comment about wanting to be a good player. I was a little confused about it, so I said, what do you mean by this? And she said, she wanted to be at the top of the meters for DPS. She wanted to do really good DPS. She didn't want to have the conversation about her performance. She didn't want to be a burden on the raid, or probably the most dreaded of them, she did not want for us to say, hey, either pick up the numbers or we're going to sit you and not invite you to the raid. And that kind of got me thinking, because yes, good numbers, high DPS, a high parse, etc., makes you a good DPSer. That doesn't necessarily make you a good player. And that's what she specified, was I want to be a good player. And the reason why I want to differentiate between the two is being a good DPSer is bare minimum, right? Doing everything that you can in a smart way, not trying to game the system or not do mechanics or whatever, is definitely in the negative category. But that is what's expected of you as a DPSer, as a raider, as a player, to sit there and say in real life, and I've mentioned this before, I'm in charge of an IT department, and to say, I want to be a really good technician, so I'm going to do a whole bunch of tickets, doesn't make you a good technician. That just makes you a good worker. That doesn't overall, it's not the complete story. It's not the complete package. It's not what your goal is. And to be a good DPSer as a DPSer is bare minimum. So I hate to break it to those of you that are parsing in the 99th percentile, and you think that makes you a good player. It doesn't. Great DPSer? Maybe not necessarily a good player. So let's kind of talk about that for a second. What differentiates a just run-of-the-mill good DPSer? And again, we can kind of, apply the same logic to tanks and healers. Was everybody alive at the end of the raid, etc.? Did you use all of your cooldowns and did you move the boss or the adds around in the proper manner? Great. You're a good tank. You're a good healer. Cool. That doesn't make you a good player. So the factors, at least in my mind, a couple here that kind of tell me as a raid leader, as a guild leader, as a person in general, that's a good player. Not necessarily that's a good DPSer, because that's to be expected, are the following. One, your attitude and ability to take feedback. The fact is that if I can choose between two players, one that has a great attitude, that is willing to take feedback, and one that is not, I'm going to choose the first one instead of the second one. And I can tell you from experience, and we've talked about this on this channel, I've done videos about this, that when you are that type of person that has that attitude, you're an asshole, right? You either are a jerk in the raid, you're a jerk out of the raid in the guild, you don't take feedback, you think that you are better than everyone else, just because, again, you do a high amount of DPS, doesn't make you a good player, and I'm sticking to that. I would rather replace you with someone that does average damage that has a good attitude. If it's someone that I can work with and bring from a 40 to 60% parse to an 80% parse, and they have a really good attitude, I would take them over a toxic, very poor attitude driven, just jerk. And I think that makes a huge difference. And I do think that those that see, and again, I'm going to harp on this throughout the video, those that are parsing that 99th percentile, and I'm generalizing here. There are obviously exceptions to this rule. Those that feel, I think, to kind of rephrase, those that feel that DPS and their DPS and the amount that they do is the main factor in them being an amazing player. If you're putting all of your eggs into that basket, you're probably not a good player. Again, good DPSer does not equate to good player. The second thing here is the ability and willingness to step up. Again, if we are saying here that being a good DPSer, doing a high amount of damage is the bare minimum, that's what you signed up to do. Congratulations, you're literally doing the job that you signed up to do. Thanks. But the ability to step up and go, hey, what does my raid group need? What does my guild need? And I'm not talking about, some people think that you have to be an officer. Some people think that you have to be in charge to be a leader. And this isn't the case. We've talked about it. A leader isn't someone in charge. A leader is someone that others follow. So the ability to step up. I see that there's a problem. I'm going to take the initiative. Again, we've talked about it, and fix this issue. Okay. Whether it's, I know that, as a great example, my guild wants to do mythic content come Shadowlands, and we really need to recruit people, and I spend a decent amount of time in the capital cities, messing around, just talking to people, whatever. Maybe I can spam a recruitment macro. Maybe I can, have my eyes open to see if anyone is interested, anyone is willing, anyone wants to join the guild. I can step up and do that. Things like that where, okay, I can recognize that, maybe I have a profession, alchemy as a great example. We had a player who, she farmed cooking mats. And she said, hey, look, I will make feasts for the raid. Great. She stepped up. She did that. We've had several players in my guild that have said, look, I go around all day, every day in flight form, and I, herb all day long. I will provide free of charge cauldrons for the raid. Cool. When we tell them, if you need any mats, let us know. We'll reimburse you for whatever. But these are folks that have stepped up. And I think that makes a really good player. And then the third one, which is very similar to stepping up, is the willingness to guide and help others. Again, we've talked about this, kind of the reverse side of it, where if you want to be a good DPSer or tank or healer, but we're focusing on DPSers, that you can see those that are, maybe playing the same spec, the same class as you, and maybe they are significantly better and you can bug the crap out of them and ask them to help. But kind of, again, if we flip it back around, you can recognize that, hey, I am playing, as a good example, something that I mentioned in the last video when we talked about it from a bad DPSer's perspective. I play a mage. I recognize that maybe one of the mages in the guild in the raid group is struggling. Maybe I can see that they aren't parsing very well. And I take it upon myself, or I am willing, if a raid leader, guild leader, officer, etc. goes, hey, would you mind helping that dude out going through his logs for 20 minutes? Maybe he doesn't know the opener. Maybe he doesn't understand this ability, whatever the case might be, but the willingness to guide others. And I've seen this. I have seen players. We had a guy that would, he'd pug with us for Mythic Nyalotha for quite a while, a couple of months. And he was, DPS-wise, damn near perfect. He was parsing 99% pretty consistently every single week. He was a great player. We had a couple of other folks that played the exact same spec and class, obviously, as him. And when we'd say, hey, do you mind, helping this guy? No, he can figure it out. There's guides online. You're not benefiting the raid group. Yes, your DPS is, 99th percentile. You're at the very tippy top. But if we bring everybody's DPS up, then the whole raid wins. And this is something that really differentiates between that good player and good DPSer. So those are the three things: attitude, the ability to take the initiative, and the ability and willingness to help others. And I think if you have a person that does those three, you have a good player. right? DPS you can work at week after week after week. You can go through logs. There are ways to fix DPS. But attitude is more personal. Stepping up and taking initiative is more personal. The willingness and openness to guide others when you are successful and they are not is more personal than just I'm hitting the right buttons at the right time for this boss, which is it to be expected. Okay, so those are some thoughts. Let me know in the comment section down below. Did I miss anything? Do you guys agree, disagree, whatever the case might be? And until next time, guys.